Okay, you're looking to move to Orlando and you're looking for the top places that you should look at when it comes to living here. In this video, I'm going to give you the top 3 areas ranked by niche.com in Orlando for suburbs that you need to consider when moving here. Each one has its own charm, and no, they're not in the same area exactly. I'm telling you, you cannot believe this list when you're looking at it, and if you're moving to Orlando, you got to hear it. Let's get into it. Okay, what's up everyone? So obviously when it comes to moving to Orlando, there's a lot of places around the Orlando area, each with its own charm, pros and cons, and especially when it comes to your own personal situation. But I wanted to give you, heading into this new year, 3 different places that are ranked by niche.com. The link is down below where I got this list. But they rank these 3 suburbs as the top areas that you need to look at when it comes to living in Orlando. And they rank everything from crime to cost to location, all of those amenities, what's going on in the areas. That's why it's how they build these lists. And I always like to look at these lists and kind of give my own opinion and spin about not only how I felt about them when I first visited, but also things I've learned in helping people relocate here to Orlando. So the third most popular place when it comes to moving to Orlando is Dr. Phillips. So Dr. Phillips is a community that obviously if you're looking at Orlando, and I'll pull up the map right now real quick, but when you're looking at Orlando, it's kind of on the western side of like the central Orange County, Orlando area. And look, Dr. Phillips honestly is one of the more popular areas when it comes to. Now remember, each one of these 3, actually now that I think about it, each one of these 3, don't just imagine just living inside the boundaries of these areas. To be honest with you, it's more complicated than that around Orlando. So it's kind of, picture each one as a chunk of Orlando when it comes to living here. At least that's how I've learned when it comes to living here. It's not just living inside city limits. A lot of times, just like, okay, you have the most popular area, let me look at communities around that. But Dr. Phillips is obviously a really big popular one. I mean, I can tell you Dr. Phillips is very well located. It's a nice place to live. It's a great suburban community. There's a reason why Dr. Phillips tends to be one of the most common places I hear about when people are relocating here, because they're like, hey Cameron, tell me about Dr. Phillips. I hear it all the time. Now, it's important to know that, let me look at my figures here. So obviously the average home price right now is about $401,000. That's between everything, condos, homes, everything. It's about $401,000 for a home. This changes all the time. So keep in mind, every single month, it's always fluctuating. Use that as a general figure when it comes to moving here. Now, I will tell you this has some of the more higher average rents though. So the average rents here are going to be a little over $2,000 a month. Again, that's everything. Apartments, homes, condos, it's everything. It's not just one section or sublet of the area. So keep that in mind when it comes to these figures that I'm giving you, is that they're all fluctuated. You can find homes for a little bit cheaper. You can definitely find homes more expensive. Just take it as a grain of salt. Like I tell people when it comes to moving to Orlando, a lot of people were like, look, here's my budget. But when it comes down to it, it's not always that simple. A lot of times it's like, well, depending on what community, school district, suburb, what area you're specifically looking at, that financial number changes so much. It'll be close to where the general average is, but it doesn't mean you can't find things that are a little bit better. Just keep in mind that it's just a general rule of thumb. Now, Dr. Phillips, to me, when I first visited it seems like it's a top community for a reason, right? So I can't say that with the knowledge I have at the top of my head, if you're looking for new construction, I see much new construction that's in Dr. Phillips, at least for most of the average price point of people who are relocating here. But Dr. Phillips, honestly, like the crime tends to be really low in most areas around the city, in the suburb. It's really close to Disney, the park, and Universal. Like, it's not too hard to get to either. You kind of get to avoid the I-4 a little bit when it comes to doing things around Orlando, and that's a huge plus because that I-4 corridor is insane. It's nasty. I mean, if you look it up online, you're probably going to find people who always complain about how terrible the traffic is, how hard it is, yada yada. You know what I'm talking about. It's dangerous. Dr. Phillips obviously gets to avoid that completely. It's one of those cities and suburbs that just, it really does have the location going for it. I will tell you, when I hear that average real estate price, to be honest with you, more often than not, if you're going to be looking for a home, you're definitely going to be higher priced than $401,000. It just is what it is. Dr. Phillips, in those areas, the homes tend to command it. And it's not because you don't see much like 3-bed, 2-bath starter homes. It's just a lot of homes tend to be a little bit bigger and that's a little bit more expensive in price. The rent, it's mainly because of the location. Now, obviously, the one thing I like about Dr. Phillips, a lot of the communities tend to not really allow short-term rentals. Not that they don't exist inside of it, but for a lot of part, that's a huge plus for me. I don't know. Look, I used to rent Airbnbs, but I don't know. When it comes to living in Orlando, I really like to avoid those as much as possible. So Dr. Phillips, Overall, great location. It's surprising that it's number 3 on this list because the other two might surprise you. I don't know. In my opinion, I can't really say that I understand why this one's number 3 compared to the other two. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Also, before we head to the next two, I want to let you know real quick. If you're looking to move to Orlando, what I specialize in, being a veteran and everyone on my team kind of being associated with military in some way, shape, or form, is when it comes to relocating to Orlando. Obviously, being a real estate agent with eXp Realty, my job is here to help you with relocation. It's what I've chose to work with. It's what I specialize in. So this number down below is how you can call, text, email. It does not matter how you get a hold of me. I'm here to help you when it comes to relocating to Orlando. If you reach out to that number, you're reaching out to me, not some assistant. You're not going to be put on hold. It's going to me. If I don't pick up, it's either because I'm on the line with another client or because, well, you know what, I have a family and I have kids. So it's really important to me to be able to spend time with them. But I will always get back to you. So that number down below is how you can get a hold of me. Look forward to helping you. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so for number 2 in places you should be looking at when it comes to moving to Orlando is Winter Park, Florida. Now, Winter Park, when you look at like central Orlando, it's just heading north of the main city. And Winter Park is honestly, it's another popular city for a lot of people when it comes to moving to. What's surprising to me, now keep in mind these average numbers are a little weird, but I tend to see you sometimes can find cheaper homes in Winter Park, but they tend to probably need a little bit of work or they're a little bit older. Winter Park, though, is a popular community. It's surprising to me that it made number 2 on their list compared to like Dr. Phillips, but maybe I'm just someone who doesn't like to live in the main city area? I don't know. It could be my thing. I'm not a huge fan of living inside like crowded suburbs and stuff like that. But Winter Park is one of those communities where it's just heading north of Orlando. Obviously, a huge benefit is you are in the main city of Orlando. So if that's what you're trying to get, that's what you'll find with Winter Park, is you get to be in the action. Now, obviously, when it comes to going to any of the theme parks and stuff like that, you're still having to head out of the city. So you're still dealing with traffic to get to it. I think Dr. Phillips is a little bit better located for that, but it also depends what part of Dr. Phillips you're in. Winter Park, still not a huge issue, and depending on what you do for work, a lot of people that are supposed to relocate here, they tend to work closer to the city, so Winter Park actually might be better for that commute. It really depends. Now, these rough figures, again, they're not always accurate, but for right now, obviously the rough average home value is about $492,000. Again, there's a lot that goes into that. You can find cheaper in Winter Park, but at the same time, that's a general figure. Median rent is actually only $1,400 a month. I will tell you, Winter probably has a lot more apartments, so it's hence why that number tends to be a lot lower compared to like Dr. Phillips. Dr. Phillips maybe not be heavy on the apartments, but it has a lot of single-family homes and condos and things like that that people rent out. Hence why that number is a little bit higher. So when it comes to Winter Park, if you're looking to rent there, probably gonna be a little bit more affordable depending on what's going on in the rental market and things like that. And obviously, we don't really do with rentals too much here. Yes, I know a lot of people who have rentals and invest and all that kinds of stuff, and people have reached out to us over the years, but it's not something that we really do specifically, mainly because it's just a Wild West here in Florida. I mean, apartments.com, for some reason, they treat it like the Holy Bible, and they just use apartments.com. I've rented here when we first moved here, and apartments.com is what everyone seemed to use for their landlords, management, and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when it comes to moving to Winter Park, Florida. Also, Winter Park, honestly, so like, I don't mind the location, but if you're like me and you don't really like being like close to the city, it's probably not your cup of tea. But to each their own. So Winter Park, the location can be great, but I think this one really comes down to your personality. Like between Dr. Phillips and Winter Park, which one do you like more? Do you like being closer to the city? Dr. Phillips really isn't far from the city. It's just, you know, it's probably gonna give you that more suburb feel than certain parts of Winter Park will. But then again, you can probably find better apartments in Winter Park. So it really comes down to what you're looking for. And also, honestly, sometimes people will hop between the two. We have friends that live in Winter Park, and I will admit, living in Polk County, traveling to Winter Park is a disaster. It'll take like an hour with traffic, probably more. Actually, it takes a lot more than an hour, but it's a disaster. So if you're looking to head west on the 4, I don't know if Winter Park's gonna be the best one for this option. All right, number 1 when it comes to places you need to consider when it comes to moving to Orlando is Heathrow. Now Heathrow, if you're pulling up a map right now, so when you look at Orlando, it is heading north towards like Lake Mary. You know, you got Heathrow, you got this whole corridor. What I like to say is heading north. It's like northern Orlando, north of it. Look, overall, I don't disagree with Heathrow in particular, but what I will tell you and build on a niche.com is it's not just Heathrow, it's like Heathrow, Lake Mary, it's that whole trifecta. A lot of them, they tend to have really good schools, lower crime depending what part of the communities you're in. I always have to say that with all of them. But I mean, I really enjoy the community up there. Biggest downfalls I find are when it's like, if you like going to theme parks, a little bit more tedious to get to the theme parks for these locations. Getting to the airport may or may not be an issue. It depends on where we're comparing. But overall, like, they are really great communities. I mean, I have one friend I know of who, like, they love it up there. Like, they absolutely love it. And if you like to be away from the transient side of Orlando, you can't really avoid the retirees coming during the winter, but if you like to be away from that, the theme parks, the transient side of it, then I'm telling you, being up in these locations, it'll be for you. Or you can consider like Claremont and stuff like that. But I can tell you that these communities up here, they're built out. The schools can be very good. Overall, they're really good communities. But I will tell you, so obviously right now, when you look at, so the average home price up there is about $430,000. Now that fluctuates heavily because depending what part of the community in, you can find cheaper. This is just a general average between all of them. I will tell you because some homes tend to have a little bit more land. So that's probably why you're going to get that number pushed up a little bit. Average rent's about $1,500 a month, so a little bit more than Winter Park. Again, there's a lot more options up here. One of the biggest pros when it comes to Heathrow and that area heading north of Orlando is they tend to be, at least in my opinion when I go there, a lot less. Like if you go to like Davenport and the craziness on the 27, it's obnoxious. Like there's just so many people coming for vacation in that area. It's just always traffic and crowded and accidents. When it comes to North Orlando, you tend to avoid that a little bit. Now, obviously, Florida swells during the winter because a lot of retirees and things like that. You can't really avoid that up there, but I will tell you, if you're looking to permanently live here in Orlando, it's not a bad place to look at. Again, it comes down to where you're working, where you're traveling, what do you like to do on the weekends, because getting out of there can be a hassle. So keep in mind that's one of the biggest downfalls when it comes to living up in Heathrow, Lake Mary, that area up there, at least that I have found since moving here. Now, I hope you got value in this video. Those are just the top 3 areas when it comes to moving to Orlando. Obviously, there's so much more. So make sure you hit like and subscribe on the channel. Be notified every time I drop a new video. Also, don't forget, if you are relocating to the Orlando, Florida area, this number down below is how you can get a hold of me and the team. Call, text, email. It does not matter how you get a hold of us. We specialize in making sure you get out here with the least stress possible. And we look forward to helping you and having that conversation. Hope you got value in this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.